Welcome. I'm Pam Laricchia from livingjoyfully.ca, and today I'm here with Isabella Watkins, Caitlin Wharton, and Milva McDonald. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Pam.
Hi.
Hello. Now, Milva has been on the podcast before, back in episode 103, and I'll put links to that in the show notes. But Isabella, you contacted me pretty recently about coming on the podcast to talk about the writing club that you're really enjoying and which Milva is mentoring. I thought that was just a super connection and a lovely idea. So here we are. I'm so glad that we could find a time that all of us could get together. And to get us started, I'd love for each of you to introduce yourself and just share a bit about something about what you're interested in right now. That's something I ask all my guests to start off with because it's really fun to hear the extent and all the interesting things that people are getting up to. What's making your eyes light up right now? Do you want to start, Isabella?
Sure. I'm Isabella. I'm 15. I live in a log cabin in Vermont with my parents and my cat Ginger. I really love writing and reading. My favorite authors right now are Jane Austen, the Bronte sisters, and Oscar Wilde. And I really love studying literary time, ages, like Romanticism and Transcendentalism. And I also have a few literary fan clubs with Caitlin, for Wuthering Heights and for Lady Macbeth from Shakespeare's Macbeth. And we're also writing a sequel to Macbeth together, which has been such a joy to do.
Wow, that sounds like fun. Really fun to be able to bounce ideas together. I can just imagine. All right. So before I jump in, Caitlin, how about you?
Hi, my name is Caitlin, and I live in North Wales in the UK. At the moment, I'm especially interested in playing the bass guitar and drawing and writing and going for walks. And I've been obsessed with animals since I was 3. And yeah, I love organizing my room and writing and reading and just, I don't know, I try to live but anyway, I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem. I'm really excited to dig more into what you're doing. And Milva, how about you?
Hi, I'm Milva McDonald. I live in Massachusetts. My 4 kids, who I unschooled all of them, are grown up, so I'm enjoying being a grandma right now. And I'm exploring memoir and working with the writers group with Isabella, Caitlin, and the other members every week.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I like the idea of memoir too. We were discussing that in your last episode, your writing. I would be very curious to hear how this writing group just came together. What's the origin story of the writing group? And then maybe its evolution, if it has changed a little bit since then. Do you want to start with that, Mil?
Sure. So this particular group started at a home in Cambridge, Massachusetts. A mom who was homeschooling her kids at the time asked me to come to her house every week, and I started doing that. And Isabella, I think you joined pretty early on, right?
Yeah, I think I joined the first year that it was happening.
Yeah. So do you want to, Isabella, do you want to talk about kind of the evolution of the group?
Sure. Also, I apologize if there's meowing in the background. My cat's sleeping on my bed, so I think he just woke up. Yeah, so it was the first class that I joined, and it was the first year I started unschooling. I think I was 10, which it's pretty cool to think you've been my writing teacher, mentor for a third of my life, Milva. Yeah, I remember, I think it has most of the original members of the group are still in it now. And yeah, we would meet every week, and we would have at the end of each semester we would have potlucks to read our writing to our parents and everything. And it was a lot of fun. We did joint stories where everybody would write different parts of different stories, and we would read that at our potlucks and things like that too. And then I think that was kind of like what we did for the first few years until the pandemic, and then we went online, and then Caitlin joined us like I think pretty early on, starting then.
You want to take over, Caitlin?
Sure. Yeah, so I joined in the latter half of 2020 after meeting a member of the group in 2019 in September. And I was delighted to join them online virtually, since I live a long way away, obviously. But yeah, it's great. It's such a wonderful group, and everyone is so kind, and they're like how welcoming they were to me was overwhelming, and it's just been such a wonderful experience.
That's lovely. Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about from Milva? I love what Isabella was sharing too about, meeting, but also having like potlucks and getting together with parents, like other people who are interested in, and giving them an opportunity to share what they are having fun with writing about that are really passionate and excited about. So it would be pretty cool to hear, like, are you reading books together? Is there reading and discussion of books and then some writing, or is it more focused on writing? Just curious as to how you're setting up what everybody's doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty focused on creative writing, although we do read short stories. So pretty much, I mean, we've started that probably a couple of years ago. I don't know, a few years ago. We'll read short stories, pretty diverse range of stories, wouldn't you say, guys? We read like classic authors and then more contemporary authors, and just sort of, talk about them, talk about the characterization, the writing, and then sometimes they serve as idea generators for our own writing.
It's so fun to have a group of other people who are passionate and interested in the same things. Like, I can just feel the discussions, the conversations just flowing, and the excitement and the energy, and just how cool it is to connect with others who are as excited as we are about, whatever it is we're interested in, but in this case, writing, reading stories in general. So Isabella and Caitlin, is there anything you want to add about the things that you enjoy about participating in the group?
Oh, well, definitely, as Caitlin was saying earlier, like just how welcoming and like wonderful everyone is, and just like, I don't know, just how kind like everybody in the group is. And I feel like we've just, I don't know, I feel like I've known everybody for like my entire life, and like I feel like they know me, and it's just such a nice like place to be and to like write together. And also, as you were saying, like having a group of people who like kind of enjoy like similar things to what you do, and like everybody just loves writing and is so serious about it. So I really love that.
Very cool. Do you do for people who might be interested, and I know we're going to talk about that a little bit more later, but just to get a sense of what you guys do when you're meeting up, do you do writing? Do you have like open space for writing when you're meeting up together, or is it more conversations and inspiration than to go off and writing and then maybe share when you come back together?
Do you want
Caitlin,
me to?
you want to handle that one?
Oh, you sure? Yeah, I think it's both really. I think we often discuss ideas in a group chat. We talk about poetry and our favorite books, and it gives us ideas to write our own like fan fictions and stories based off of those, and sequels and things. I think we do meet sometimes to write, which is very nice. It's nice being in the presence of other people and writing together, like not talking, but just being in the presence of other people who are enjoying what you're doing as much as you are. I think it's a mixture of both, really.
Oh, that's awesome. Because I have I have written a few books myself too, and in some writers groups, I know that it is fun, just the energy to get together side by side. Like, so even if you're just online, say sitting in a Zoom room or something, and everybody's just working away, doing their own thing, there's also a special kind of energy that comes with that too. It doesn't always have to be direct engagement, right? So yeah, that's why I was really curious to see if that was part of it as well. Now, you guys have mentioned short stories, and that leads nicely into the book that you guys put together. I've been reading and enjoying it a lot, and it's called Unlocked, an anthology of short stories and poetry. And I would love to hear the story behind just the choice to create the book and what that process was like. Do you want to start with that, Isabella?
Sure. Well, I think it was, I think like the first class that we had like in the fall semester when we were online, and I think it was Milva who like kind of brought up the idea of like putting together some of our short stories, and then we had like a lot of which I don't know if you want to like talk a little bit about that, Milva. Um,
Sure. Well, before we were on Zoom, we would meet in person, and we would have these gatherings that Isabella mentioned, potlucks, and the kids they were essentially readings.
Mm-hmm.
So they would get to read their work and share it, and we could have done that on Zoom, and in fact we did have one. Isabella and Caitlin organized one when the book was published, but I also just felt like they were getting to the point where they had been creating substantial work that could actually be put into a book, and I just threw the idea out there, and then everything that happened afterwards was pretty much them. Because I feel that's part of what I feel my role is to just sort of throw things out, and even when I was unschooling my own kids, that's what I did a lot of the time. So
yeah, just sharing possibilities.
Exactly.
Not without like an expectation or, okay, now you need to do this thing, but like, hey, this is a possibility. Is that something you would be interested in pursuing? So you guys took up that mantle. Caitlin, were you part of it when they first started talking about it? Did you come to the book a little bit later in its development, or?
Well, luckily for me, I joined right as they were discussing it, which was great luck on my side. Yeah, I think it, as like, as you said, it kind of unfolded, and I think the rest of the group kind of expanded on the idea while we were still getting help from you, Milva, of course. And I remember you editing everyone's stories, which was a great task, but you did it so well. But it was a great project.
What was your experience, Isabella?
Well, I was very fortunate to be like the formatter for the book, which was a lot of fun. So after everybody put their stories in, I got to like figure out how to format it. And yeah, that was a lot of fun. Like nobody I knew had done that before, so I kind of learned it all like from scratch. They're reading like things on like Amazon has the platform like Kindle Direct Print. So it has a lot of like material about like formatting and things like that, and kind of learning that process was a lot of fun, and also like working with everybody. And I'm sure I bombarded all my friends with tons of emails about like, what do you guys think about doing this? Like, when do you think is our deadline for putting stories in? Like, what do you think about this? But yeah, it was really fun like working together with everybody, and I was honored to have Caitlin and two other members of our group illustrate my story too, which it's just like their illustrations are just gorgeous, and I just love looking at them. So yeah, it was an amazing experience.
Well, that's so fun. Yeah, I've published my own books as well, and I really enjoyed learning that technical aspect as well. There's so many different things, like you said, from illustrations to the editing to the formatting to, I'm sure, even, well, the writing to start with and the choosing what stories, poems, and things were going to go in there, and then the order for the reader's experience. There's just so many fun aspects that come up when you choose to do a different kind of project, right? That takes it further. So that's really fun that you guys were excited to do that. And it's not, it's not an impossibly hard one either, not an overwhelmingly difficult one. There are tools now that help with the formatting and the fact that we can publish our own things. That's really exciting. Now, I did want to ask a little bit about Isabella and Caitlin, and just wanted to dive into the unschooling aspect a little bit, because since you don't go to school, you do have much more freedom in how you choose to spend your days. And Caitlin, you listed a whole bunch of other interests that you're pursuing as well. I'm sure you're keeping yourself busy too, Isabella. I was just curious to hear about how your creative writing, illustrations, music, how they weave through your days. Because I know my daughter around that age, when she had friends, and when she was in Pathfinders, Girl Guides, etc., they just couldn't understand, if she didn't go to school, why wasn't she so bored? Because they didn't realize that, there are other things to do. Like school tells them what to do, and that's where their friends are and everything. So just to imagine not going there was really hard for them. So I'd love to hear a little bit about how your days flow. And eeny, meeny, miny, mo, Caitlin, why don't you start?
Yeah, I totally get that. I think most people think that I just sit around all day and just do nothing really, but I feel like I'm quite busy, which is a good thing. But in terms of how I weave my writing throughout my days, I think I'm mainly thinking of ideas and subjects for stories and poems, and I often find myself trying to convert everyday situations into the more of the fantasy genre, which is a habit I've obtained really. But yeah, I try to write more than I think about writing, but sometimes that doesn't happen for me. But I try to get my ideas down quickly on paper when there's an actual pause in the day.
I love that. I try to write more than I think more about writing. That is a really fun observation, because both are fun, right? Both are fun and exciting. But, to just the little reminders to make note of things, make note of ideas, figuring out a process on how, I have gone through so many processes myself, from trying to carry a notebook around with me to a notes app, on my phone, because I'll have that closer often if I'm out and about and something strikes me. It's just figuring out ways to weave it into our days, isn't it? So Isabella, how about you?
Well, yeah, I also I also carry around my phone and write notes on it if I think of poems or something like that, dialogue that I want to add. Yeah, I think I spend most of my day writing or daydreaming or thinking of stories. And I don't know, I like to say I have an Anne Shirley temperament. I can think of kind of um a lot of I don't know, I just like to daydream like Anne Shirley from Anne of Green Gables did. And yeah, currently I've been working on revising two novels that I wrote 3 years ago. And Milva actually revised one of them, gave me her feedback and read one, which I really appreciated, and I've rewritten a great deal of it also since then. And yeah, I guess I kind of just think about writing and kind of just write for most of the day every day. I don't know. It's kind of just what I do, I guess. And I love writing with Caitlin too. That's the highlight of my day when we get to meet on our Google document and just write stuff together.
Yeah, I love that too. Some stuff I work with other people. It's so fun when you're both there in the document and just kind of you almost having a conversation. And for us, it's just bipping around paragraph. One's doing one, one's doing another, and then moving them around. And yes, it's it's so fun to figure out the different tools and the ways we like to work together with other people. And also, I love, Isabella, that you're just immersed in stories. I imagine there's some reading time in there as well, and the daydreaming oh, yes, I love stories too. So as soon as you got in touch about talking about this, I thought that would be awesome. I also wanted to just move a little bit to talking about tips for people who might be interested, because you know what, whether it's parents or some young adults, teens, whatever, who might be, we find that we're interested or passionate about a particular thing, and then at some point we are interested in connecting with others who share that interest or that passion. So I was just wondering if you guys had any tips for people who are hearing about this and think that sounds like a pretty cool idea and they'd like to start putting something together. Do you want to start, Milva?
Sure. So I mean, when I started doing these groups, it was actually when my adult kids were young, and somebody asked me to do it. And basically, I'd been in writing groups, so I just said, well, we'll just do the same thing I do in my adult writing groups, which was that we would get together, share our work, and write together. So we do writing exercises, creative writing prompts, and then we share it. And I think, to me, one of the key pieces of it, which I think was reflected in Caitlin and Isabella's comments, both about the environment being kind and welcoming, and I'll say I would use the word safe, because when you're writing, you're expressing yourself, and so creating a container for that is I think one of the most important and the most meaningful, and that makes it so valuable to everybody. The other tip that I would give to any adult who is starting this, maybe with a group of younger people, or anybody really, is to join them. You're writing too, and share your work. I consider myself, I know because I'm the adult that I'm looked at as the mentor, but I feel like I'm just another member of the group. And I'll share my ideas, and I'll share my writing. And I think it makes, just makes it more comfortable, and also just make it fun. I mean, that's really, it's what it comes down to.
Right? Exactly. And I think that idea of participating alongside each other as peers, as all members of the group, I think that is very important and very valuable, because it helps remove some of that power dynamic that you were talking about, like teacher, mentor. Yes, you've got more experience and you're happy to edit and give feedback and participate fully in the conversations. But as someone who also shares that passion and excitement, like you can participate fully with joy and fun in what's happening, right? And what's going on. The other piece that stood out for me, as everybody's mentioned, feeling safe and how it's a very kind environment. I found over the years, especially with like unschooled kids or kids who aren't going to school, because at school there is so much focus on not only grades, but competition and being better, and needing a lot of validation that way. You know what I mean? Because they're just so used to that lens, was this good or was this not good, versus just conversation about it, and feeling peers more as competitors, right? Because of the grades that they're used to, and just the way that environment, that system is set up. It's harder for them to just relax and be kind to others, and not take conversations and feedback as judgment, right? And feel like it's a personal attack on them, versus we're just having a conversation about the work, and we're all interested in learning more and taking it. It's just a different perspective. I don't know if I explained that very well, but I find that when unschoolers get together, there is so much more energy and support of each other, because we're all interested in this thing and we're all excited about it, versus that competitive nature that can kind of come in when that's all that they've known really in how to engage with peers. It's much more judgmental, maybe is the way to think about it. Does that make sense, Milva?
Yeah, I would say that this is an environment of it's mutual appreciation,
Yeah.
and they really value each other's perspectives and voices, and that is it's not about if anybody who's better than anybody else. It's just everybody has a unique voice and contribution, and it's and they really really I think you guys genuinely enjoy each other's writing. Do you agree? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Isabella, yeah, would you like to pipe in anything to share about, tips for people that way and your experience, more about your experience in the group?
Yeah, well, definitely just, I don't know, as like you both mentioned, like being in an environment where like everybody else, like, is just so supportive and like, where everybody like values everybody else's voice, like, that is really such a like wonderful thing. And I know, like, I don't know, I guess that doesn't like happen all that often sometimes. So it's just so nice to like be in a place where like that everybody else really cares about what you have to say, and also just the fact that we focus on like the joy of writing and not like kind of the like really technical, like I know like when I first joined, my spelling and grammar were terrible, and they've like improved their reading stuff, but just like being in a place where like nobody really like cared about that or like pointed that out, or like that didn't like affect how people like viewed what I wrote. They just like were interested in hearing about like the story and the characters, and like just everybody focused on like the just like nobody really focused on like the kind of technical like aspects. So it's just nice to like be part of a group that just focuses on like the joy of just storytelling and like creating stories and worlds and just being in them together.
I love that point because it's so true, right? And Milva, you with your own kids as well, it is something that we discover through unschooling, that these little facts, these skills, they develop over time, but what they don't need to be like pointed out, big red X on them, fixed, do it the right way next time kind of deal. These things just come with our joy and following the things that excite us and that we have fun doing, right? And we do pick up all those other little bits along the way. And also, it doesn't mean we're all going to become perfect spellers and perfect grammarians. It's like that's what editors are for. That's what, spell check is for. It's learning like the tools as well that can help us along the way, because we're just looking to communicate our stories more effectively, maybe on paper at that point. Again, like even in adult writing groups, it's the same thing, right? We can use those tools just because they're kids. We don't have to teach them, and they can't use. It's like don't use the calculator, don't use the spell check. You need to be able to be picking up these skills on your own. No, this is the world that we're living in, and we have access to all the tools that are there for us, right? That makes sense. Caitlin, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Well, I totally agree with what like all three of you have said. Like, I couldn't agree more with it. I think that if I joined a critical writing group at the start, I would have, I don't know, I think it wouldn't have done me any good for my writing. I think joining a supportive and kind group is just what I needed. And also, I think having a great tutor and like a really great person who will bring ideas to the group like Milva does, and understands the concept of not being like a teacher that will like that's your role. Sorry, I'm not speaking very well, but not having like someone who will like shout at you for things, and like I don't know, having someone who is more like your peer is a lot nicer. Like I think it makes all the difference.
Yeah, I can just imagine. Like for everybody listening, just imagine the difference in energy and in showing up and in wanting to come back and in feeling good about yourself and excited to learn more and to engage more. If somebody is judging you and shouting at you or telling you all the things that you're doing wrong versus, enjoying your ideas, enjoying the pieces that you share, enjoying the stories, enjoying the comments, the conversation, like that is what, if you're looking at it like, oh, I want my child to participate, well, then make it fun, make it enjoyable, engaging, and make it that they want to come back. Really, right? That wasn't even the purpose, for this particular group. I'm just saying it's just so fascinating to see that so often people will think, oh, I want them to learn and enjoy. They have an interest in writing, in creative writing, so I need to teach them really quickly. So I need to, get them grammar books, get them reading classics, the books that I think they should read, etc. And getting so much more top down. But it is that everybody's been saying, it is a world of difference when instead you go bottom up, you go supportive, helpful. And we're all peers. We're all, has more experience with writing, etc., and stories, because that's something she's been passionate about for more years, for longer. And she can bring that perspective. She can bring that experience. But when you come as a peer and share that excitement and joy, and you celebrate that piece, and you get together celebrating and sharing those pieces that you love, night and day experience, isn't it?
Yeah, and I just want to add also that I think that the idea of teaching writing, people are always learning from each other in the group, not just me, certainly. But there's also the concept of their identity as writers. So when we start a group, the bedrock is the given is that everybody is a writer. We're not learning to write. We all write. We are writers. And I don't know that I've actually ever come out and said that to a group of kids at the beginning, but it's the premise that I go in with, and they just absorb that, and they realize, wow, I'm a writer, and then everybody's writing, and it's something that they're learning how to do. They are learning as they go, of course, but they are already writers. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, that's the energy that you bring, right? Even if you don't say it. And, sometimes the energy is more important than the words, than the saying, cultivating that environment. One could say it and then not live it. You know what I mean? In the energy, living it and experiencing it is more important than the words. And the words will can just confirm what they're already feeling. So I love that very much. Is there anything else anybody would like to share that I maybe didn't touch on about the group? It sounds awesome. And I'm very happy that you guys have found each other and how it evolves over the years moving forward. I think that's wonderful. I want to thank you guys so much for taking the time to speak with me today. It was a lot of fun. And before we go, can you guys let everybody know where they can find your book online?
Isabella, go ahead.
Well, you can find it on Amazon and on Kindle. It's called Unlocked, an anthology of short stories and poetry by the Young People's Society of Story Writers.
I love that name too. And you both wrote the introduction. I enjoyed that as well. There's a little bit more information about the writing group there. So I think that would be really interesting for people as well, especially if you're thinking about it, if you're curious about it, pick it up. And I think you have a lot. I'm really enjoying reading it anyway.
Yeah, I hope people pick it up and read it. It's really great.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a wonderful day.
Thank
Bye.
you, Sam.
Thank you.
Thanks.